SpaceX is pushing for Starship Flight 12 with all its force. The recent Booster 18 incident is being undone with overtime. Booster 19 has started stacking, Starship Pad 2 is almost ready. How long until we see Flight 12? Blue Origin is building a monster New Glenn, and we have animations for you. Europe is getting a new suit, and Starliner is getting even more confusing. Welcome back to Starbase, Texas, the pumping heart of the spaceflight industry. Today we are going to try to put the pieces together. The pieces that were left over by Booster 18. Not in a literal sense. SpaceX will not put this back together. They made quick progress with the most significant milestone in quite some time. It was the fastest booster stacking ever, and it ended even quicker. A day after rollout, it experienced a considerable anomaly. The leading theory is still another COPV failure in one of the chines. Same as Ship 36. This isn't confirmed yet though, we'll have to wait for SpaceX's word. Booster 18 is in pieces. They cut it in half and moved it off the test stand. They'll analyze the chunks, then implement the findings into designs and production routines. All this doesn't seem to hold them back much though. As said in the last episode, SpaceX's public statement is that Flight 12 is still slated for Q1 2026. This, of course, is just a bit of sweet talking. While Flight 12 was originally scheduled for Q1 2026 before the Booster 18 anomaly, it was slated for the very beginning of Q1. Now we are likely looking at least February. This isn't as bad as it might seem though, because of this. This is the brand new Starship Pad 2, and of course, its completely redesigned ship quick disconnect arm. Pad 2 isn't done yet. It will likely be finished around the middle of January if my estimate is correct. That would be roughly 4 weeks before I predict Flight 12 will launch in mid-February. 4 weeks is a good time window to conduct a static fire test, reassess how the new pad held up, and then run some wet dress rehearsals with the brand new version 3 Starship design. That's likely also the reason why SpaceX used this specific wording. Flight 12 is still slated for Q1 2026. Nothing has changed. IB Proofin, SpaceX's alignment tool and load tester for the Pad 2 OLM, has completed its job as well. SpaceX lifted it off the pad a few days ago, and now they are already busy testing and aligning the booster quick disconnect system. Now, here comes the next giveaway on how much time this actually costs SpaceX. Booster 19 has begun stacking, and SpaceX says it will be done and ready for testing in December. This is only possible due to the V3 booster design. It's been greatly simplified in many regards. Autogenous pressurization lines have been combined and streamlined. The entire gas manifold was moved to the outside. This ring you see here at the bottom of the booster holds basically everything except for the main fuel lines. Helium used to spin up the engines, gaseous methane and oxygen to run the torch igniters, and autogenous lines leading out of the engines to repressurize the main tanks. All of it is on the outside now. While this might sound crazy, it does give SpaceX one main advantage. Production speed is likely to be greatly increased due to this. If you design a machine with assembly in mind, you can minimize assembly time. If workers can install all these lines on the outside, they have a much easier job. This likely enables SpaceX to assemble an entire version 3 Super Heavy booster in under a month. Rapid and full reuse and mass production. Those are the main goals for Starship development. Expect these stacking times to go down even further. I wouldn't be surprised if in a year or two, SpaceX builds a Starship booster in under 2 weeks. Not Elon type. And those aren't the only changes on the new booster generation either. We got a great view of the fully integrated hot staging ring for version 3 hardware. Up to now, a Starship stack basically consisted of 3 parts. We had the ship on top, the booster below, and in between the separate hot staging ring. It separated from the booster after stage separation and dropped into the ocean. That is not full reuse. So SpaceX used all the information gathered from previous flights and incorporated the ring into the booster. It will take it home on every flight and reuse it on the next. Then we have the heat shield on top of the booster forward dome. You can clearly see it in our our and in RGV aerial photography's images. It consists of formed steel plates. These patches here line up with engines on the ship. You can also see that these patches are asymmetrical. The booster flips to one side when it separates. SpaceX designed the shield with this in mind. So when separation occurs, first of all, there will be more space between the ship's engines and the booster forward dome than before. Secondly, there are much larger openings now. The switch from a ring with cutouts to struts provides a massive increase in exhaust gas escape area during stage separation. And lastly, we have the heat shield, which provides additional protection for the forward dome of the booster. Why did SpaceX do this? After all, there were no visible problems with the hot staging as it was, right? It worked pretty reliably, and they even reused a booster. Speaking of pretty reliable, email and phone spam has become more than just a nuisance. It's a stressful time killer. Today's episode is sponsored by Incogni, my reliable partner for years. It takes personal data out of the hands of data brokers, ruthless people making money selling your data. And Incogni can do for you what it does for me: protect your personal data. Half of all Americans long for data security just as I do. Incogni is a reliable partner, ensuring personal data remains personal. It's incredibly easy to use but immensely powerful. Try it for yourself. Sign up, grant Incogni permission to track down the data brokers. It is completely automated. Targets are identified by Incogni, and it also handles the removal requests. If you find your personal information on a random website, send the link to Incogni and they will handle the removal request on your behalf. Join me at incogni.com/Felix to take control of your personal data with Incogni. Use code Felix at the link below to get 60% off an annual plan. This special offer can make a huge difference in your daily life. Go to incogni.com/Felix to enjoy personal privacy while supporting Y. Alright, back to SpaceX's iterative design process. While all this is true, it shows SpaceX's approach once more. They are not trying to build the finished rocket. They are trying to find out how to create the end result. In this case, all three changes, more space, larger openings, and the heat shield, are clearly focused on one thing: hardware reuse. Version 3 Super Heavy boosters will likely see much more reuse than version 2 did, and this is a part of it. One more thing about the hot stage truss is essential. If you look at how it is attached to the booster with these black clamps, it's clear that it's easy to replace. So once it does wear down from constant Raptor blasts, they can just switch it out and keep reusing the booster. Switching over to Pad 1, or what's left of it, SpaceX has cleaned the plate. Literally everything but the shower head and the stubs, rebar, and the cryolines in the ground is gone. And I fully expect SpaceX to keep going as they have so far. They'll rip it out in no time with little care. Behind the tower, we can see another modification taking place. SpaceX didn't just remove the giant oil rig wrench that moved the chopsticks up and down. They ripped the entire enclosure out as well. This is very likely just to bring this element up to Pad 2 standards as well. No need to be worried about them chopping down the tower as well. They are just modifying what needs to be modified to make it work, just as Pad 2 will shortly. Chopstick number 2 was chopped as well. As they did with the first one, they cut it off. Again, to make them resemble what Pad 2 has. There are modifications left to make to those chopsticks. Cutting the tip won't do it. The landing rails on top and likely countless other minor modifications need to be done as well. But it will likely save them some time. When do you think we'll see a launch from the modified Pad 1? In 2026? Let me know in the comments. Maybe 6-7 months in? Now let's take a look at the monster. The Gigabay is growing massively. But today I don't even want to focus on more beams and columns. I mean, we get it, it's growing, right? Today I want to focus on how much it is going to grow until it is done. Take a look at these images. They are from Mauricio's last flyover. RGV Aerial did a stunning job again. And you can see that SpaceX has basically reached level 1 on all these columns. This is already tall, right? Does anyone know how much taller this will need to get? Take a wild guess. It will reach 116 meters when done. That's 8 columns. The reason is apparent. SpaceX is currently height constrained in the Megabays. Version 3 is barely manufacturable in them, and version 4, it will simply need the Gigabay so that SpaceX can even think about assembling them. Speaking of larger, structural strength isn't just crucial for SpaceX. If you want to help us make even better content, hit the subscribe button to stay informed. Like this video if it brought you value and become a wise supporter for extra content. Chat with me and gain more insights on the topic you love. Thank you very much. This next one seriously came out of nowhere, and it is huge. Blue Origin has revealed a future super heavy version of its New Glenn rocket, marking an important step toward higher capacity orbital and lunar missions. An announcement of the new variant dubbed 9X4 came on November 20th, 2025, just days after the successful second flight of New Glenn. The naming convention reflects the engine configuration: 9 BE4 engines on the first stage and 4 BE3U engines on the upper stage, compared to the current 7X2 configuration with 7 and 2 engines respectively. This expanded configuration pushes New Glenn into the super heavy class, putting it closer to Starship minus the full reuse. The 9X4 even surpasses the height of NASA's legendary Saturn V rocket. Performance improvements are substantial. The 9X4 variant carries over 70 metric tons to low Earth orbit, more than 14 metric tons directly to geostationary orbit, and more than 20 metric tons to translunar injection. This could turn out to become a valid SLS alternative for Artemis lunar landings. The vehicle will also feature an enlarged 8.7-meter payload fairing compared to the current 7-meter version, enabling accommodation of larger satellites and multi-payload configurations. That's basically on par with Starship by fairing diameter. Blue Origin confirmed that the 9X4 will fly alongside the existing 7X2 version rather than replace it. While no specific timeline was provided for the first 9X4 flight, Blue Origin emphasized that the proven design of the 7X2 variant will accelerate development. It is an evolution rather than a revolution, and an interesting option to create a super heavy lift vehicle, enlarging the rocket instead of strapping boosters onto the existing design. Looking back, NG2 was a huge success, and early last week it was time for another milestone. The first time a New Glenn first stage returned to Port Canaveral. The booster, named Never Tell Me the Odds, made its way back aboard the recovery vessel Jacqueline, where it had touched down perfectly. And Jeff stood on deck of Jacqueline as proud as he could possibly have been. Upon arrival, the booster must be brought to a horizontal orientation, and a special tool is used to perform this task. This is the bespoke New Glenn breakover fixture during testing before it was used for the first time. Now, this second mission's booster with its 7 BE4 engines can be refurbished as part of Blue Origin's plan to reuse them up to 25 times. Some damage was visible. It's unclear whether this is serious or just loose paint that didn't survive the forces of launch, flight, and landing. Then there were the expected scraped surfaces on the underside of the landing legs. NG2 was brought back to Blue Origin's Florida facilities. If all components are deemed fit for refurbishment, the booster will be prepared for the next mission, NG3. After carrying 2 Mars-bound satellites on Flight 2, Flight 3 will be even more exciting. It is slated to become Blue Origin's first attempt to reach the moon and touch down near Shackleton Crater using its own Blue Moon Mark I lunar lander next year. Just a few days ago, we got our first glimpse of the fully integrated 8-meter tall Mark I, which is now moving into integrated checkout testing. It is done! Go Team Blue! I am so looking forward to NG3 and Blue Moon. But this very blue week did not even stop there. Next up was Blue Ring, Blue Origin's flexible space mobility vehicle. The company shared pictures of the spacecraft that is undergoing integration and verification work right now. Busy. This project is backed up by Pentagon funding, and Blue Ring is being prepared for a national security mission that is launching no earlier than spring 2026. Another surprise reveal was this full-scale aerobrake demonstrator. This clever technology uses planetary atmospheres to slow down descending spacecraft. It can help to save mass and in turn launch costs for customers. It can be fully stowed for launch and deployed in space. Blue Origin highlights the system's simple adaptability to various vehicles, facilitating heavy cargo transport for Martian and even terrestrial point-to-point missions. We are leaving Blue Origin and entering the world of very special fashion. In an unexpected collaboration, French sports retailer Decathlon has partnered with the French space agency CNES, space tech startup Spartan Space, and the Institute for Space Medicine medicine and technology to develop a new spacesuit for European astronauts. The Eurosuit is an intravehicular activity, or IVA suit, designed to be worn by astronauts during takeoff, landing, and emergencies in pressurized spacecraft. Very much comparable to SpaceX's typical flight suits we see during every Crew Dragon launch. The project began in late 2023 when CNES contracted the consortium for an initial study, followed by a second contract in late 2024 to develop a prototype for ISS testing. And it's not just an attempt to look as cool as SpaceX astronauts. Eurosuit's most groundbreaking feature is speed. Astronauts can put on or remove the Eurosuit in under 2 minutes, completely unassisted. That is crazy. They could one day prove crucial for astronaut safety during emergencies. Decathlon focused on ergonomic and textile features, including a lattice structure allowing customized helmets for each astronaut, easy-to-operate zippers for quick removal, and adaptable sizes, accounting for astronauts' height increase in microgravity. Yeah, they do grow over time in space. ESA astronaut Sophie Adenauer will test the prototype during her Epsilon mission to the ISS in 2026. She will evaluate the suit's ergonomics, mobility in microgravity, and functionality during various tasks aboard the station. It's so good to see that European astronauts are going to look better in space. If ISS testing succeeds, the Eurosuits will evolve into a fully operational suit with sealed pressure systems, fire-resistant materials, integrated communications, and head-up display interfaces. Fancy. On we go with something that just doesn't want to add up. You tell me if you know, because I don't anymore. NASA and Boeing have officially modified their commercial crew contract, transforming the upcoming Starliner 1 mission from a 4-person astronaut flight into a cargo-only operation. What? The troubled spacecraft's next launch is scheduled for no earlier than April 2026. The modification, announced on November 24th, also reduces Boeing's contracted flights from 6 to 4, with 2 remaining as options. This decision follows persistent challenges with the Starliner propulsion system that plagued last year's crew flight test, when astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams faced thruster malfunctions and helium leaks. After NASA determined it was too risky to return the astronauts aboard Starliner, their stay ended up over 9 months long. Ultimately, Starliner returned empty in September 2024. NASA and Boeing want to use the cargo-only approach for the upcoming Starliner 1 mission to validate system upgrades. I'd say they don't want to get astronauts in danger again, you tell me. These were implemented after the crew flight test mission while delivering necessary supplies to the ISS. If successful, Starliner 2 could become Boeing's first operational crew rotation mission. Unfortunately, success is by no means guaranteed. Starliner could well end up never carrying astronauts again. One reason for this sobering estimate is that time is limited. Starliner was designed to serve the International Space Station, which is planned to be decommissioned in 2030. This leaves a very narrow window for Starliner operations. And this latest contract modification just reflects Boeing's ongoing struggles with this $4.2 billion program, which has already cost the company over $2 billion in overruns. Meanwhile, SpaceX's Falcons are running like clockworks. One of them recently launched a collaborative NASA-European environmental research satellite. This launch marks the second in a billion-dollar ongoing project aimed at measuring long-term changes in sea level, which is a critical indicator of climate change. The Sentinel-6B satellite lifted off aboard a Falcon 9 rocket from Launch Complex 4 East at Vandenberg Space Force Base. The satellite is about the size of a small pickup truck. At 5.82 meters long, 2.36 meters tall, and 4.33 meters wide, weighing 1,192 kilograms including onboard propellant at launch. A big boy. As with its predecessor, Sentinel-6B will provide key information about wind speeds, wave heights, atmospheric temperature, and humidity. It is designed to measure sea levels down to roughly 2.5 centimeters for about 90% of the world's oceans. That's nuts. The Sentinel-6 satellites are the current generation in a long-running series of ocean topography satellites that began with the TOPEX Poseidon mission launched in August 1992. Alright, enough fashion. Welcome back to the Why Countdown, your rapid-fire look behind the curtain at everything that keeps this channel blasting off. Today I'm putting one very special team member in the spotlight. you. We've set a big target, 1 million subscribers and a rock-solid average of 500,000 views per video. So here's my question, straight to the best minds in the community. What would you do to make that happen? We have engineers, creators, marketers, and bona fide geniuses watching these episodes. Your ideas are gold, and a lot of them just need to be heard. Drop your strategies, wild experiments, or proven tactics in the comments below. I'll read as many as I can, compile the top ideas, and bring them back in a future countdown so we can turn the best ones into reality. When this community locks arms, nothing is out of reach. Thanks for being our rocket fuel. We're all in this mission together. And that's it for today. Smash the like button, subscribe for more. This is what fuels the algorithm, and this is how you can help us for free. Check out our epic shirts in your favorite Space Nerd store. Our brand new Raptor emblem design and countless others are there for you to explore. Click the card or the US or worldwide link in the description. And if you want to learn more about how SpaceX's Raptor 3 engine works, watch this video next to continue your journey. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next episode.